and good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope today you are feeling grand and always in your world. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the great paddleboard shootout. Quite what's great about it, I just don't know. But anyway, so yeah, today basically we're going to do a shootout between 4 different paddleboards. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. So what are the paddleboard candidates? I hear you cry. Let me show you. So, paddleboard 1 is my tried and true gloriousness that I use all the time. The mothership. This glorious piece of thing here. I don't even know what to call it, so it's called a glorious piece of thing. Very great English. So yeah, this is my main kind of paddleboard I've used forever and will use forever, I'm sure of it. In one way or another, to get rid of all the fluff that was accumulated there. So this is paddleboard 1. Paddleboard 2 is the Zoom G5N. Paddleboard 3 is the Line 6 HX, and paddleboard 4 is the Line 6 Helix LT. So they're the 4 boards we're going to go through today. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to go for a cleanish kind of John Frusciante-esque kind of clean tone. Then we're going to go for a bluesy kind of tone, which is kind of like a classic-y rock kind of blues kind of tone, if you will. Then we're going to go for a full-out distortion / lead mode. And then we're going to go for a wah-wah tone, which are kind of like all the main kind of sounds that I use. And then basically, I'm going to obviously 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's in the order it's going to go. And then basically, I'm going to have a listen to it and then give you my little final thoughts on which one I preferred and why. And as usual, people of the tube, I want to know which ones you preferred and why. What was it about, say, the Zoom or the HX or the Helix or my paddleboard in general that you liked the most? What was it about it? You know, what was it in the sound that you really liked the most of? And I'll tell you, I'll do the same as well. So, let's just give a bit of context quickly. So, cleanish tones. So, for the cleanish tones, I'm going to use the jackhammer on its own. Oh, we're all going to be. It's just all going to go into the Marshall MG set clean. So cleanish tones, jackhammer, Marshall Plexi, the MS 1959. In the Line 6 HX, it's a Stupa overdrive, and in the Helix, it's the same thing. These two are technically the same, but they sound different. I think. I feel definitely they sound different. So it'll be interesting to see how different they do sound. So that'd be the cleanish kind of tone. Like I say, jackhammer, that's a really noisy card. You really need to do that. Marshall Plexi replica kind of like head, if you will. Stupa overdrive and Stupa overdrive again. The bluesy kind of tone, we're going to be using the Marshall Governor on here. On the Zoom, we're going to use the Tube Screamer model. On the Line 6 HX and the Helix, we'll be using the Tube Screamer model as well, the TS808 basic copy. And then full out distortion, I was going to use the jackhammer and the DS2 on here. I was umming and ahhing which one to use, but I've been using the DS2 a lot more these days for distortion than I've been using the Governor. I've been using the Governor a lot, obviously, but I found myself I'm leaning more towards the DS2 at this point in time. So I'm going to use jackhammer and the DS2 on here for full out distortion lead tone. Then on there, I'm going to use, on the Zoom, it's the dynamic drive, the DYN drive. On the HX and the Helix, it's the Line 6 drive. And then for the wah sound, obviously, I'm going to use the jackhammer, the DS2, and the Ibanez Wah V2. On the Zoom G5, I'm going to use the dynamic drive distortion setting with the Wah 100. On the Line 6, I'm going to use the Line 6 drive with the Vox Wah, and then on the Helix, I'm going to use the Line 6 drive with, I forget what the wah wah pedal I've got programmed in on that thing is now. I haven't turned it on for a while because I don't particularly enjoy it, but it's basically to simulate this thing on there. So yeah. So that's it. So that's what the deal is there. So it's quite, clean blues rock, classic rock kind of thing. Full out kind of like, mass distortion and then a wah wah sound. And you'll hear them like sequentially. So it'll be this pedalboard, Zoom, HX, Helix, pedalboard, Zoom, HX, Helix. You know what I mean? And like I say, people of the tube, Let me know in the comment section below which one you preferred and why. What was it about the jackhammer, or the tube screamer sound in the HX, or the Marshall Plexi simulation in the Zoom? What was it about that you liked the most, and which pedal board did you like the sound of the most? So without further ado, let's dive into it. And also, reverb. All the reverb you will hear will come from the pedals. I will turn the reverb off on the MG, and you'll just hear reverb from the pedals themselves. So just so it's all nice and contained, basically in one neat little package. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm really, 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 really excited by this, because I'm really curious to which one appeals to my ear more. This is really interesting. I'm finding this really... I don't know. I hope this is going to be interesting. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get on with it. Yeah, starting with Marshall jackhammer into MG clean. Let's go. Okay, people of the tube, there you go. There's the sound examples. Like I say, you got clean, overdrive, kind of classic rock, kind of Steve Ray Vaughan, Texas bluesy kind of thing, blues in general kind of tone, and then full out distortion, and then wah wah. People of the tube, let me know which one you preferred and why in the comment section below. You know, what was it about setup B that you liked over setup C, or what were because I'm really torn between them. I do feel the Zoom G5N needs a little bit more tweaking. Not a great deal, but there is some things. I found the distortion on the G5N was a little bit too dark. You know, I mean, it sounded really good, but it had no cut. You know what I mean? There was no cut to it. Not like when I kicked on the DS2 or the Line 6 drive on the HX. There was no real kind of cut with the zoom. It just kind of like sat there. It was a gorgeous sound. I loved it, but it was a little bit too dark for me. I mean, I like sound, like dark kind of like sounds, but I still like them to cut. You know what I mean? Because I do feel that I like, you know, if I was going to use that sound live, as soon as I kicked it in, it would just kind of like disappear. It wouldn't sit above a mix very well. Whereas I think that, like, you know, when kicking in the Line 6 drive on the HX/Helix and the DS2, they've got that cut. You know, they really kind of like stick out and they really go through. The Zoom didn't seem to have that, so I do feel the Zoom G5N needs a little bit more tweaking. I wasn't really. Its Tube Screamer kind of sound wasn't particularly great. I didn't think. I think it was in the kind of like the blues tone, the second tone that you heard. I do feel that the Zoom G5N's kind of Tube Screamery sound kind of just kind of let it down a little bit. It just sounded really empty. You know what I mean? Like void of character in a way. It just didn't have anything to it, no substance, you know, to the sound. The clean tone I thought was great. If not a little bit too bright, I need to just like tame the high end a little bit more on the Zoom. Other than that, it's wicked. Love it. The wah sound on that Zoom G5 is to die for. It's so expressive. I love it so much. But I can't decide. I do feel that the HX and the Helix sounded identical. Apart from the Helix was 10 times louder. Well, not 10 times louder, but it was definitely the loudest out of the lot. You can hopefully hear it in the video. Hopefully it comes across. The Helix was definitely the loudest. Followed by, I would say, the HX, and then it goes on to pedalboard and Zoom. But pedalboard and the Zoom pedal were kind of on par. I feel they were pretty close to be on par volume-wise. But it's really difficult to pick that. If you put a gun to my head, that'd be the one I'd have. Because I love the HX. I love the Zoom and I love my pedal board. I don't particularly love the Helix because of the stress I've had with it. But it does sound good. And I can't deny that. The Helix does sound wicked. And interesting to note, actually, the Helix wah model I was using in the wah section, inside the Helix, it was a clone of the Silvertop wah, the Vox Silvertop. And I think the Vox Silvertop wah, the actual wah that I was using, they sound really similar, if not identical. It's quite creepy. They nailed it, really, really, really impressive. I've forgotten how much I love the Silvertop wah. I haven't played the Silvertop wah for a while. And as soon as I stood on it, I was like, oh, you filthy little machine. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely glorious wah pedal. I can't pick. I honestly can't pick which one I like. The only pedal that had a downside was the Zoom's Tube Screamer replica. But that could just be to do with the way I've got it set up. It could, it just needs a bit of tweaking. But I honestly can't pick between the four. Obviously, the Helix isn't mine, that's Nick's, and, when it goes, and I'm not going to miss it. But, and also the expression pedal on the Helix, God almighty, I can feel it in my ankle, still it hurts. Horrible angle. I don't know. I really don't know. People with a tube, which one did you prefer and why? Because I'm really struggling to go, that's the one. I mean, if you're going to go to if you break it down to kind of like, which one's got more versatility, the Helix and the HX win. They've just got so much variety of sound and tone and effects and just options, you know what I mean? They've got so many of them, so many options, so many abilities, you know what I mean? The Helix and the HX have got so many options compared to my pedal board or the Zoom. But sometimes that can be a bad thing, you know what I mean? Option paralysis is not a good thing, I don't think. Because it kind of leads you down the line of tweaking instead of kind of playing, if that makes any sense. Luckily, I've never had that issue with the HX. I had that issue loads with the Helix, but I didn't have any issues with the HX. The HX has pretty much been as it was. The only thing I didn't like about the HX was and the Helix was this kind of like low end rumbly muffledness, if you will. There was something in the low end that was really not. I just didn't, not the fact I didn't like it, it's cool, but it wasn't quite. It kind of interfered, I felt, you know what I mean? It wasn't quite, it kind of interfered with the sound a little bit, especially on the clean sound. The low end on the Helix and the HX, it had this kind of weird flubby low end, like this fat bottom to it that was not really, I don't know, it seemed to sit below the sound. It seemed to kind of like, it was causing more issues, you know what I mean? It didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. So, but yeah, I really can't pick. Like I said, I do feel the Zoom G5N needs a little bit more tweaking. On the clean tone, the distortion, and the tube screen resound. The wah pedal is perfect. But the other sounds do need a little bit of tweaking. They're not quite where I want them to be. They're a little bit too bright, smidgen too bright, but I want them a little bit less bright. It's a little bit too up there. I suppose if you were to put a gun to my head, which one would I pick? I think out of loyalty, I would pick my pedal board. With the Governor, the DS2, the Jackhammer, and stuff like that. And in all fairness, that pedal board, I don't think I could ever be without that pedal board. You know what I mean? If push come to shove, and you said you're only allowed one, I don't think I could be without that board. I think I could say goodbye to effects like particle verb and certain effects and certain things that the Zoom, the G5 does, and certain things that HX does. But I couldn't lose what I have in my pedal board. Because I haven't changed that pedal board since like 2005. You know what I mean? Like certain things have come here and gone there. Like instead of like the jackhammer, it used to be a tube screamer, and then there's also the golden plexi by Tone City on my other pedal board, which is basically a carbon copy of that pedal board. It's just smaller. But I think if push come to shove, I would have to go with my pedal board. As much as I love the HX and the Zoom, if push came to shove, my pedal board would win out. Just because of certain things, and I'm just so used to it, and I'm so comfy with it, and I just know it in and out, you know what I mean? I know things inside out on that board, and I love the layout of it and stuff like that, because obviously, because I built that pedal board to be that way, I love I love the layout of it, I'm so comfortable with it. Like I say, but there are things I would miss, you know, stuff like particle verb and certain other effects that the HX has. But saying that, you know, cranking up the reverb on my amp and the Zoom pedal has never made me kind of go, oh, I wish I had particle verb. You know what I mean? Particle verb is one of those effects that I'm just in love with. But if I don't have it, which invariably I don't on intro jams and stuff like that, I don't necessarily miss it. You know what I mean? It's one of those effects that if I didn't have it, I could live without. You know what I mean? Same with like a uni vibe or certain kind of things. But if push came to shove, I still feel my pedal board still is my home. It really is my home. You know what I mean? That's me. If that makes any sense whatsoever, that's how I feel about that. It really feels like me. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, but yeah, there's something in there. There is something in that group of pedals that just makes me just feel very at home, very comfortable. The HX and the Zoom and the Helix, I don't feel as comfortable with. If it comes down to that, definitely I don't feel as comfortable. I feel totally at home with my pedal board because I've used it for so long. I'm always going to feel more at home with it. And I don't really change things in and out. You know what I mean? The governor stays the same. The G5, the G2, sorry, the Zoom G2, the Line 6 delay modeler. The jackhammer's on there. It's been on there for ages now. The DS2, you know, the Ibanez Wah, if not the Vox. You know, either way, I'm happy. And obviously the hubcap John Fuzz, which I adore. But yeah, I think if push came to shove, I'll definitely pick my pedal board. For sounds and just for me, what works the best. For me, when it comes down to it, push comes to shove, pedal board works. You know what I mean? It really does. And as much as I love the HX and the Helix and the Zoom, I don't love the Helix that much, to be honest with you. That's a lie. But as much as I love the HX and the Zoom, my pedal board does definitely win. But anyway, that's my opinion, people of tube. Let me know in the comment section below which one you preferred and why. What was it about that really, really, you know, piqued your interest, so to say? Like I said, I do feel the Zoom G5N is not quite where I want it. Listening back to it now, I specifically, can't say that word, went out of my way not to compare it to anything before this video. I have never compared the Zoom to anything until now. Just because I wanted to keep it my kind of reaction like fresh for the video, and I'm so impressed. You know, it's not quite. It's a little bit too bright. The distortion's too dark. The tube screamer's not right. But if I had to go to a gig with it, I wouldn't be kicking up a stink. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be upset with any of them, to be honest. If I had to go to a gig with any of those four setups, I would not be. I wouldn't be scared. I wouldn't be kind of like, you know, I wouldn't be bothered. I'd be quite happy. So. People do, let me know, comment section below, which one you preferred, why, what was it, you know. And also let me know kind of what was it about the other setups that you didn't like, you know, what was it? You know, was it the high end, the low end, the actual kind of overall kind of tone of it? Is it too dark, too bright? Because I really want to know. I'm curious to I love reading your comments in these videos, like, you know, of how you hear things. Because it's amazing, like, how some people say, oh, that sounds way too dark to me. Yet other people will say, oh, that sounds way too bright about the same sound. It's so cool. I love it. I'm fascinated by The perception of sound is so cool. It's so cool. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been some kind of informativeness. And yeah, I'll see you again on Wednesday for Q&A. And until then, and then on Friday I have a very interesting video planned. Friday should be very interesting. Yes. I'll see you on Wednesday. Enough on that for now. And yeah, see you again on Wednesday. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. And yeah, have a great one. Goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching.